Welcome, everyone, to the very first episode of the Ranch Roundup, an in-depth look at Saugerty Stallion baseball here on the Saugerty Stallions YouTube channel. I'm John Drager. Joined alongside me is my partner in Kyle McMullen. And start things off, these ponies are hot. They're rolling.
These ponies are red hot, John. Winning 5 straight, improving that season average wins-loss to an even 6-6, which is great, seeing as they were not doing too well, 1-5 in the first 6 games. Again, ponies are hot. The hitting has come alive. Pitching has finally found their groove, and we'll get more into that statistically, but we saw a lot of good things from this team as a full unit last night in Watertown, winning 11-1 in just 8 innings of baseball.
Oh, it was absolutely a beautiful spectacle on the bats. An early 1-0 lead for Watertown in that first inning, and the Stallions defense held up just so that the bats could come alive during the middle portion of the game. I believe 6 runs were put up in the first couple, I'd say in 4, 5, and 6, if I'm not mistaken here.
Yep. 3, 4, 5.
3, 4, 5. Yeah,
we went 2 runs, 3 runs, and then 1 run in the 5th.
Gotcha. Great spectacle. We had a lot of hitters coming up, and it was mainly the bottom of the lineup that really did it the best out of everyone.
Yeah, bottom of the lineup, our 9-hitter out of 10 last night. Brett Heckard winning the Ulster Savings Player of the Game, going 3 for 4, 3 RBIs, and 2 runs scored. Heckert playing second base last night was red hot, and it was really, really good to see him kind of come into his own little groove, find some outfield grass with those timely base hits.
Yeah, and Heckert, he had a little bit of a rough start earlier this season. He couldn't really find contact on the barrel. He was struggling in the field, but that Watertown game really opened him up and said, hey, I can play with the big dogs.
Yeah, going into that game, Heckert was hitting 182, but after that performance, his batting average jumped all the way up to 269. So a lot of wiggle room for Heckert still in this season. If he can continue to work on some things, get his head in the right space, which it looked like it was last night, he's going to be a dangerous hitter in the bottom of that Stallion lineup.
And you mentioned dangerous hitters. The Stallions have a few more to offer. One of them resting last night, and third baseman Brandon Fish. He entering into the game against Glens Falls back on Friday. He had 8 hits in his last 3 games, a few of them home runs.
Yeah, he currently is the team leader in batting average, home runs, hits, tied with RBIs with Jake Skrine at 11. He's hitting .421 right now, and Jake Skrine in second hitting .412. Those 3-4 hitters for the Stallions are the catalyst for the rest of this offense, but we definitely can't overlook that bottom of the order with David Shackelford just continuing to hit the ball, hitting .385 right now. It's just really fun to watch these Stallions continue to hit the ball really nicely. Defense has always been the strong suit of this team. They continue to improve on the defensive side of the ball as well.
And you mentioned those 3 hitters in Fish, Skrine, and Michelle. Fish is now ranked 7th in the entire PGCBL in batting average. Skrine sits at 9th, and Michelle is at that 13th spot. So those 3 hitters can really do some damage, and they've really opened up upcoming in the season. And speaking of the hits, it's not just those 3. Everyone else has been contributing in their own ways. In the last 4 games, 52 hits for the Stallions, and it really opened up on the batting, and it was a struggle earlier on. Right around when they were about 1-5 entering the week, they were hitting about .220 on the season. Now that batting average jumped up to .284.
Yeah, you definitely hit the nail on the head there, John. As a team, 113 hits now, and that was the biggest thing that we saw out of this team, just unable to really string anything together. And finally, this lineup is coming together. There's more of an identity. These guys are knowing more so in the lineup where they're going to be day in and day out. They're going to be seeing more consistent pitching, which is really good for them as these bats, again, continue to just get hot and hot.
And you mentioned that pitching. Brian Booley, he did have a great outing last night, going 3 innings, only allowing 1 hit and 1 run, managing to strike out 5 Watertown Rapids at the plate. So a very great night. But Alex Caney, he was another pitcher that stepped up against Glens Falls and dealt a great outing.
Yeah, looking at Canny's numbers, 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, no walks, 2 hits, no runs, no earned. Again, very, very efficient. And with the struggling that we saw from the Stallion bullpen earlier on in the season, you really can't ask very much more from your starting pitchers going 4 or 5 innings with 1-2 runs at the most on their behalf. And that's exactly what a struggling bullpen needs. Consistency from their starting pitchers, consistency from the order through and through, top to bottom, and the defense playing behind them, giving the pitching staff more confidence to be able to just come right after opposing team hitters and allowing the defense to work.
And that defense has been working in the field. I mean, we've seen a fair share of web gems all across this Stallion season so far. And through, I'd say, about 12 games, I think we got a great handful just for the month of June.
Yeah, there was one game I remember. I don't remember exactly the opponent. You're going to be able to tell me. But we went line drive in center field, diving catch by Jelani out in center. Immediately after that, TJ Adams making a diving catch.
I think that was the 3rd game against Amsterdam
here. Yeah, and Colin Macklin right field in the first inning of that game, going back a couple innings from the Jelani and the Adams catches, he threw out the first base runner of the game at third base, making a huge mistake trying to stretch going from first to third on a bloop single. Colin able to just gun him out, giving the Stallions. It seemed like kind of from that moment on, they had a lot more confidence. Granted, we didn't end up winning that game, but this team looks just through and through completely different from the first few games that we saw out of them.
Yeah, and that all stems from that team chemistry that's been slowly but gradually building as the season has gone along. I mean, we mentioned it on the broadcast last night, how they've been kind of sharing strategies with each other on opposing pitchers, just telling them that before they sit down in the dugout, like, hey, this timing's a little bit off. 82 looks fast, but it's not. Crank it. And also kind of like, hey, he's throwing heat. Sit back on those fastballs, those off speeds. Kind of settle yourself down, let him make the mistake. But it's not just sharing strategies. It's also about having fun as well. And when you take a look yesterday on the bus ride to Watertown, which was about 3.5 hours, it was a very long day. But
it's a trek.
The team was just playing a bunch of games in the back of the bus, and we couldn't help but just laugh at how much fun each player was having.
Yeah, it was nice to see the guys continue to develop relationships with one another. And you know, going into it, you got a new town, a whole crop of new guys that you have to meet, and you got to play baseball on top of it. And post game, granted, winning is going to put everybody in a better mood, but the amount of energy in the Stable Club out in left center field here at Cantine is off the charts. I mean, these guys are just laughing, chirping each other, just having a great time. And as you talked about on the bus, we saw a bunch of the players go from those middle area seats and kind of make their way to the back of the bus as they were playing. I don't even know what the game was, but all we could hear was just a lot of giggling and clapping, and it was a lot of fun. And we talked about it. The Stallions have a new double sign. They sort of do a dance move when they get to second base. You saw that, yep.
Jelani Rogers, immediate leadoff double to lead off in Watertown. You see him doing a little bit of a dance and a groove, and we just couldn't help but laugh upstairs in the broadcast booth, the Ulster Savings traveling broadcast booth at the time in Watertown. But all in all, these Stallions, they're just having fun. And talking with all the coaches, it was just a slow start. They were just slowly getting bits and pieces of every player coming in. They were going to slowly develop them. And now 5 straight wins is on the board. And they shot from 8th place in the East standings earlier this week. They now sit at 4th with a half game behind their opponents tonight in Mohawk Valley.
Yeah, last time we faced Mohawk Valley was in Mohawk Valley. Unfortunately lost Jake Skrine, if you remember, hitting the first home run of the Stallion season, and that was a heartbreaker. We faltered at the end. That was not solely based on any one thing, but relief pitching struggled a little bit in the later third of the game. But again, the bats kind of fell silent anyways. I believe we went 4-ish innings without even registering a hit after that. And once the bats go quiet, it's very difficult for any pitching staff, let alone one that has a slower start to a year, to be able to find some groove and keep the momentum going forward. So in tonight's game, you're definitely going to look to see the Stallions keep those energy levels up, back the pitching staff with some timely hitting that we have seen as of late.
Yeah, and the Stallions had a 2-run lead heading into the bottom of the 8th against Mohawk Valley, and a few runs later, they find themselves down 7-5, if I'm not mistaken, and they ended up losing that game in heartbreak fashion, and we had the fortune to watch that from that third base line right next to the dugout, and the vibe completely changed as soon as Mohawk Valley got the bats going, but they're facing a brand new Stallion team, and they've seemed to be getting hot just about at the right time.
Yeah, again, really, really fun baseball that is being had in this Stallion locker room. A lot of great energy from this team, consistency from everybody. We keep looking forward to these games. Again, Mohawk Valley, it's a series that the Stallions are going to want to improve on. We're 0-1 thus far in the year. Moving, as you said, slowly moving up the leaderboards, and we're just going to hope that this team continues on that upward-facing trend and just finding themselves in position to do a lot of damage as the season goes on.
And currently we sit 4.5 games back of the division leader and possibly the best record in all of the PGCBL in the Amsterdam Mohawks with a 10-1 record leading the division. And Albany, they're right behind them, I believe, at about a 7-5 record coming up for the Dutchmen. And then it's just a fight for second place to see who can really catch Amsterdam off of their groove. I mean, taking a look, it's going to be a dogfight for second place in the East as we speak right now. It's going to be neck and neck. But also in the West, you have a little bit of a dogfight for the top spot with Jamestown, Utica, and Batavia all fighting for that one spot.
Stallions are definitely going to want to keep their wits about them. Don't look past any opponent. Just keep playing good baseball, as you mentioned. Develop as the season goes on, which we have already seen a lot of improvement. You talked about the conversations that these guys have had with each other post at-bats. And one of my favorites, Jelani Rogers, typically our leadoff hitter, any at-bat that he has, he'll come into the dugout and immediately talk to the guy heading up to the plate and the new guy in the on-deck circle, explaining exactly what he saw, maybe if the umpire's given a half a ball to a ball on either side of the plate. Just a lot of good camaraderie, some very mature baseball being played from this Stallion baseball team.
Yeah, and it's going to be huge heading down this stretch, especially if the Stallions want to be one of 6 teams in the PGCBL to have a chance to get another postseason championship. And we'd like to remind you that if you have any questions for myself, Kyle, or any of us in the Ulster Savings broadcast booth, just please let us know down below in the comments section. We'll be happy to answer them. And in the meantime, it is Father's Day here in America, and both of us, and I believe all of us, did have some experience playing baseball growing up from our respective hometowns of, I believe, Sarasota, Florida, and myself in Butler, Pennsylvania. So, Kyle, I'm going to start with you. What's one very huge core memory of you and your dad's playing in the Little Leagues?
Well, I'll give you one. So, my older brother, Zach, myself, and my dad, we used to go out to this old church. It had a little baseball field right behind it. And I distinctly remember at a very young age my dad taking the two of us, and just for hours on end, it'd be a Saturday morning, he'd go out, stand just on one knee, and just soft toss to us for hours and hours. And those are some of the best memories that I have growing up. My dad, the biggest influence on me for most things in my life, but definitely baseball-wise. And I couldn't be more appreciative of that, guys. He's one of my heroes for sure.
I mean, I could go with the same way, but my story might be a little bit different compared to yours. So I'm gonna go back a little bit to Little League in my day. We were about to play a game, and this was during warm-ups, and it was a clear sunny day. I was deemed as like the guy who would like catch the balls and put it back in the bucket for like the warm-ups. We were just
Shagger.
about to
Yeah.
finish up, and the coach's son, who was really good on our team, he threw a ball. I lost it in the sun. All of a sudden, it comes right at me, boonk, right on the forehead. I go down like a sack of potatoes.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot, Kyle. Regardless, my dad ended up taking me to the ER just to see if I was okay. I was. I did have this big goose egg on my head for the rest of the week. It was a little sore, but I did end up playing the next game. I stampered back into that batter's box, but it was a little too late for my baseball career. I got what some people would say the yips, and a bad case of them.
Oh no.
I have not played baseball since that year, unfortunately. So here I am. But my dad was a huge influence on my baseball career. He loved baseball growing up. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I think most of us can definitely attest to our fathers, even plenty of mothers out there being a big influence to get these guys in this locker room to be playing baseball, siblings, whoever the case may be. Happy Father's Day to all of you out there. We hope that you tune in today, watch your sons play some really, really good baseball, or even watch your sons on the broadcast, as Logan Barandis over there, our producer today, will be on the call with John. And myself I'll pop in and out as best I can, but I'll mainly be taking care of the in-house music and getting everybody feeling good on this wonderful Sunday.
Yeah, and we also have to mention the father of the Stallions Baseball Club and Kevin Hinchy, the owner. We have to extend our gratitude to him for allowing us to have this opportunity to broadcast your Stallions here in Saugerties from the Ulster Savings broadcast booth, and being able to travel around with them and having the amenities that we have. We do want to send out a special thank you to the father of the Stallions and Kevin Hinchy. But other than that, I believe that will wrap up our first edition of the Ranch Roundup. Big thanks to you guys for tuning in, and we hope to see from you and hear from you tonight as the Saugerties Stallions take on the Mohawk Valley Diamond Dogs here. 7:05 first pitch at Cantine Field. We hope to see you there. Thank you, and have a great rest of your week.